Hi, everybody. Welcome to our webinar. Let's go ahead and get started. Before we do, I'm just going to pass it on over to Ashraf. She is our director at Employment Services Unit. So we'll let her go first, and then I'll come back and share some housekeeping before we get started.
Thank you, Laveen. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ashraf Mirmontawai. I'm the Director of Employment Services Unit. I would like to take this opportunity to welcome and thank our employer partner for their participation in today's webinar. We have all learned how to adapt to new ways of getting work done and to brace for this new normal. We know that many employers are going out of their ways to communicate with their teams about what steps they should take to reduce risk both to their staff and to their companies as a whole. Today, we are learning from these companies their best practices. Again, thank you for your participation and looking forward to hearing your stories and wishing you all a safe holiday season. Now I will ask Laveen to start the webinar. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Ashraf. So as I mentioned, my name is Laveen. I am one of the two team leaders at Employment Services Unit. Bear with me because this is also my first time hosting a webinar. Let's just kind of bear with each other, getting through these technical glitches a bit, but we will do our best. For the next 2 hours, we have some employer guests that will be presenting about their experiences with COVID-19, some new practices that they have initiated since the start of the pandemic to keep their businesses going, keep their staff safe and working at their companies. Before we do that, however, just a couple of housekeeping points to go through. First off is that this webinar is open to the general public, and so there's a possibility that we will get a lot of questions being asked to our employer guests, and that is fine. However, please be aware that we will be screening the questions and only presenting some of the questions to the employers at the end of their presentations. So your question might not be answered here today. We apologize in advance. However, due to the short time that we have today, we cannot answer all the questions. Second of all, I'd like to just point out that if you do have questions, you sound them out through the FAQ option and not the chat box. We're not going to be monitoring the chat box too much, but we prefer that you ask your questions in the FAQ box. Okay. And last but not least, for our viewers that are working at a company, if you could please type that company name in the chat box where you work, that would be great for us to see. It's very interesting to see how many attendees we have joining us today and from what different companies. So if you do not mind writing down what company you work for in the chat box, and we will get started. I'd like to first present and welcome Mitch to the floor. Mitch is going to be presenting about the Canadian Brewhouse. So I will switch it on over to him.
I don't have any slides or anything to go through, but I do have a list of notes and a couple different things that we have implemented here at the Canadian Brewhouse across our chain to possibly help some other people out who are in the same kind of boat as what we are in. So as everybody knows, we've been dealing with this since March. So we've had a lot of changes come throughout the service industry. Number one being right off the hop with the initial shutdown, we had to adjust everything to get through COVID. We went down to take-home delivery only. So we focused on outside sales, essentially, not having anyone in the building. The big things that we did with that was push for skip the dishes. So all skip the dishes orders get free pierogies through the brewhouse. So a little incentive for anyone to order. With that, we also brought in a bunch of takeout promotions. So for those who didn't want to deal with skip the dishes and want to do pickup orders, we introduced curbside pickup. So you give us a call, get your order in, give your name and vehicle model. And then from there, once a guest would arrive, we would bring the food up, take payment at the car, do pretty much contact-free delivery for everything. Some people would pop the trunk, throw the food in the back, make it quick and easy for everybody. Things that we implemented with our skip and our takeout promotions were some things that we don't generally offer through the stores. So we had family packs come out. This was lasagnas, full-size mac and cheese, take-home nacho packs, take-home taco packs, and a bunch of different options to give guests the opportunity to continue to get our food, even though they're not allowed in the building. Once things shifted a little bit in the summer and we were allowed to open up, we utilized the fact that we have 2 patios. So we spaced everything out accordingly for people, so people could get outside and enjoy the summer, but yet still feel safe with their social distancing practices. Other things we did once we were open up to the public again, we introduced QR codes. So we pulled all hard copy menus. We have QR codes here for anyone who would like to take a peek at the menu, easily accessible through phones. Obviously, those who don't have a phone, we give them the ability to take a peek at a hard copy menu before and after they are sanitized. In the building itself, we introduced plexiglass rolling dividers so we could put barriers in between tables so people could still comfortably sit and enjoy the building and still bring their families down. A lot of people were very uncomfortable bringing their families and their kids down into public spaces because there was no proper distancing set up for them. So we introduced plexiglass on chairs. We got chair backers for all of our chairs in the building so people can still enjoy sitting at the bar top, which a lot of places don't have that ability anymore. We also did booth dividers. So we have dividers between all of our booths. So again, people can enjoy coming out and doing all the things in public, which they were able to do before. On the front of staffing levels, so obviously with everything changing, we unfortunately did lose a fair amount of staff to COVID shutdowns, but we did manage to keep a fair amount of staff on. To keep them safe, we do have a bunch of other protocols in. Every building, or every brewhouse building, I should say, has got sanitizer stations set up throughout the building. We have rigorous cleaning programs that have been set up. Mandatory masks have been in play pretty much since the shutdown the first time. We also have shifted our options for staff. So for the full-time employees who were working 5 shifts, such as management, you now have the option to do either 4 days, 5 days, or 6 days. As long as your required hours are met, your schedule is pretty much open to be shifted around to make it as easy as possible. That way, those with children can still manage to work and ensure that their children do have childcare. We shifted full-time and part-time staff around. So that way, part-time staff could still get in here and get out of their house and work. Obviously, with all the subsidies and everything, this allowed some people to work on a part-time basis, as well as still our full-time staff, ensuring that they were able to make their hours. Our uniforms changed. This is a fun fact. We actually made our uniforms more comfortable and user-friendly. So management don't have to wear dress pants anymore. We're back to jeans and untucked shirts, a little bit more casual, but a little bit more practical when you're running around, packing up skip orders, packing up to go. I'm still trying to manage everything the way that we have in the past. Other big changes for us, all of our events and in-house stuff has been essentially canceled. So for example, our ugly Christmas sweater party, our New Year's party, and any of our big events such as steak nights and stuff have been shuffled around so we can still give people the opportunity to enjoy those events, but during these times, ensure that they can be safe themselves and our staff can be safe as well. Other notes that I had for this, pretty much just staying positive and having fun with what we got. Obviously, the situations that we're in isn't an easy one, but by ensuring that we can still have our staff and our guests in the building and doing everything we can to follow the SHA rules and guidelines, it's allowed us to continue to give back to our community and give back to the people who come in these doors, because a little bit of normal for everybody, being able to go out and visit with people, is a lot for some people, because a lot of people aren't allowed to go see their families and friends like we have in the past. So we are still there to do what we've always done. We've also, for the first time since I've been with this company, opened up on Christmas. So a lot of people aren't allowed to go anywhere this year. So we've decided as a management team that we will be open for those who don't get to go see their family in their homes. Come by, have a beer, and still visit with your family in a safe environment. Outside of that, I don't have a whole lot. That's just kind of the rundown of the changes that we've made to ensure that our business can still operate. There's little tangibles and things that go into the everyday life and fun that we have. But if anyone has any questions, feel free.
This is a little off topic, but if you don't mind, for any of the participants that don't know about the Canadian Brewhouse, if you could kind of describe what the business is about, what you guys do. I know it's it's pretty obvious, but
Oh, that's okay. The Canadian Brewhouse. We are a Alberta-based company. We are a sports bar through and through. Canadian theme through everything. We've got any and everything that would essentially make you feel like you were a Canadian bar. We've got hockey trophies, hockey cards, retro, pretty much anything that we can get our hands on to go with the sports scene. And then obviously we are more the pub and bar style of food. So a lot of stuff that we offer is across our menu. We have everything from nachos and steaks to donairs to poutines, and bacon wrapped jalapenos because everybody loves those. Sports is our big thing. Each location has over 50 TVs. We also have our patios, as I mentioned. So this location that I'm at is the West Saskatoon location by the airport. We have a rooftop patio and we have a main floor patio. We allow minors until 8 p.m. and pretty much anyone who wants to come down, get out of the house, you're more than welcome to come take a visit.
Awesome. Are you guys also offering like delivery?
We as a location don't do delivery, but we are on Skip the Dishes. So anyone in the city can do it. With the 2 locations, we cover the entire circle of the city. So you can get food from us anytime until 11 o'clock.
Nice, nice. And since April, would you say your business has been impacted pretty negatively by COVID-19, or the measures that you've put in place, has it very much secured and limited that negative impact?
The procedures we put in place have definitely limited it. We do still feel, obviously, the pain and struggles that most businesses are going through. With the reduced capacity, right now we're sitting at about 40% capacity for our building. We've opened up our patio to make it a winterized patio. So we have fire tables and heaters outside. So those brave souls who want to head outside in the middle of the day are more than allowed to. And we've done everything we can to ensure that we can still operate as a business. The biggest difference, like I said, is the capacity level, but we're still open. At the end of the day, that's what we're here for.
Awesome. Awesome. It sounds like you have some really, really good ways to combat what's going on. So that's awesome. There is a question for you in the FAQ. I will read it out for you. Thank you, Mitch, for speaking today. I think it's sometimes so confusing, even as an individual, to follow ever-changing restrictive measures. How do you manage your businesses along with these measures? And what do you recommend consumers and customers do to support your establishments in the most effective way, but also keeping the safety measures? I want to go out to restaurants with my family and friends, but I'm also scared most of the times.
Which is fair. I know there's a lot of people that we have that we still do contact-free pickup and stuff like that. We do have signs and postings throughout the building. We have your generic COVID, if you're feeling ill, if any of your symptoms are showing, please do not come in the building. But throughout the building, we have arrows for directional arrows. We have spacing set out. We have done everything that we can, essentially, to ensure that people can feel safe in our environment. As I mentioned, we have sanitizer stations throughout the building, the directional arrows, mandatory masks. All of our guidelines and policies are posted on our doors along with our limited hours. And then throughout the areas by the bathrooms, we do have signs saying, maximum 4 people in this area and stuff like that. We have staff there literally to just stand, answer questions, do what we can. The management are always in the building, so any questions or concerns are fielded through us, as we do have the direction coming from head office with our weekly and bi-weekly meetings.
That's awesome. I actually have a rather weird question, but is there a difference for you guys between customers directly calling your restaurant and like asking to pick up food versus using like a mobile delivery app? Or is there no difference how the customers come to you to request and purchase food?
No, not really. Everybody's a guest in my eyes. So anyone who's on the phone, anyone who orders through Skip, anyone who comes to the building is going to get the same treatment and the same standard that we carry. Some people who order through the mobile apps don't want to deal with anybody. So we just try to make sure that any specific requirements or requests that they have are met at the time. And then anyone on the phone, obviously you're going to be dealing with one of us. So we try to make sure that they feel as welcome in our house as possible, because our slogan is be the place that people want to be. So without the guests and the people within town, we don't have a job. So we're here to provide for those to help everybody out in the community.
That's awesome. That's really, really awesome. I ordered from you guys a couple of times, and they had written really, really nice messages on the takeout containers. It was really, really nice. So a little thing goes a very long way. So it was very, very nice.
Well, thank you. We try to make sure that we take care of everybody.
Definitely, for sure. Awesome. Are there any other questions for Mitch and the Canadian Brewhouse? If there are, please sound them out in the Q&A box. I will just give like a minute too for everybody to kind of gather their thoughts. And if there are no questions, I would like to extend a big thank you to Mitch for agreeing to join us and share about how you guys are kind of dealing with COVID-19. The strategies that you shared are very, very creative and innovative. And it's really reassuring that you guys are like fighting the good fight and, hanging in there. I know things are getting tough and cases are increasing, but the tourism industry and restaurants and hospitality, we really need to work hard to keep that sector going because it's been really impacted hard. Even on our end as employment counselors, our clients are struggling as well with those kinds of jobs as well. So that's awesome. Perfect. Thank you very much, Mitch.
Well, thank you for having me.
So now we are going to move on to Justine and Affinity Credit Union.
And thanks for the invitation to be able to speak today. This is a great opportunity to share amongst different industries and employers the steps taken during these unprecedented times. I have prepared a bit of PowerPoint, so I'm going to share my screen. So Affinity Credit Union, obviously, as Mitch mentioned, a year of change and lots of pivot, as people say. We had to pivot in a number of ways this year. So first of all, I'll tell you a little bit about Affinity, I'll start with the agenda here. So just an overview of the presentation. I'll share a little bit about Affinity Credit Union. I'll go into some of the response initiatives that we took on as an organization. Lots of the response led to innovation, or innovation was used in order to create those responses for our customers, or as we refer to, our members. Employees, we needed to ensure they were safe and able to connect with our members. So staying connected both with our members and with each other. Talk a little bit about employee onboarding, as how we've onboarded a few new employees during COVID, and then continuing response. So moving on, a little bit about Affinity. So we are a financial institution based here in Saskatchewan. We have 56 locations across the province. And here is a little bit about what drives us, what motivates us. Our vision: build a better world for everyone every day. Enabling members and communities to invest in one another. We care about our members, and by working together, we achieve more. And our position, our end goal is to make our world better. Our values are open, honest, inclusive, and committed. And I think that through COVID, these values have really stood out, and that's why I kind of highlighted those. We were able to stay committed and open and inclusive as much as possible, and honest by providing the messaging that we could to our staff and our members as we could in these ever-changing times. So part of our employee experience, so in March, when everyone was put on lockdown, we deployed many of our staff to work from home. IT was amazing. They deployed equipment out to many of our staff. However, we, as part of our organization, were kind of had twofold, because we had some of our staff working from home, but because we're considered an essential service as a financial institution, we had a lot of our retail staff remain in our branches or our advice centers. So we both had to support people working from home, as well as support and ensure the safety of our frontline employees. So when we went into lockdown, we actually shut down a number of our locations, but we also had some of our locations in specific areas have restricted access, or where you could still do some banking. And this was important for small businesses and our other individual members, because they have cash deposits and needs that only us as their financial institution could have. So we implemented restricted access, where they could book an appointment, and then safety protocols were taken into consideration or took place, and then they'd be allowed to interact with our staff. And then we also had a handful of locations remain open with very restricted hours. So this was a way that we felt we gave back to our members, because not everybody is able to do their banking online, and we needed to be able to give our membership the access they needed to their banking needs. So that was a little bit unique for us. Some of the things that we started to really utilize in our organization was, of course, Microsoft Teams, those platforms that allowed us to interact with each other virtually, really helped us to stay engaged both with our members and our employee team. We had to up our employee tracking. And what I mean is, from an HR standpoint and payroll standpoint and tracking, we needed to know where our employees were. Are you working from home? Are you at the branch today? And if so, who's working with you from a safety perspective? So we had to come up with some new codes to input into our HRIS system, or our HR information system. And another thing that we did was we used our intranet, which was available to employees both in office and those that were working from home. They were, those with laptops had access to our intranet. And so messaging from their leadership, their teams, and from the organization was put out almost on a daily basis. Moving on. So as I mentioned, dealing with this change kind of throws you into how can we make this work? And so innovation came into play. We created an email inbox, an email address specific to our employees to address pandemic questions. So if you had a question about pandemic or work regarding pandemic or sick children, you could email pandemic address and you'd get a response pretty quickly. As I mentioned, we had to implement support for both our employees working from home, because that sometimes meant feeling a bit isolated or away from your team. So we implemented different support for them, as well as support for our frontline employees, which included, as I mentioned, the restricted access, but also when they came back to work, we had mandatory masking. As Mitch mentioned, those plexiglass, we put those up for our employees to interact with our members, and also had to do some reconfiguring of our space in our branches to ensure that there was the distancing between staff and members. So some of the ways that we supported our employees was Wellness Wednesday. We had an update every Wednesday that promoted different wellness initiatives, how to stay connected to your team when you were working from home. Talked about virtual coffee breaks, different meditation techniques, how to talk to your kids about pandemic, how to be a good leader during pandemic, how to reach out to your employees. We really tried to focus also on our employees who might be struggling during the pandemic, and encouraged everyone to reach out to our employee assistance program, which gave our employees counseling and advice and anything that they might just have questions about, and wanted that confidential kind of counseling ability to reach out. So we encouraged that. And we implemented a few different organization-wide coffee breaks where we would meet virtually, and someone would take us through a quick meditation or mindfulness session. We had 3 sessions that included mindfulness and yoga and body scanning, which helped in mindfulness. So all sorts of different ways that we try to continue to support our employees. So I've kind of mentioned most of this already. Microsoft Teams really helped us to implement some of these innovative ideas. When we had we still have our pandemic email address. There were a number of questions that came through that were repetitive. So we decided as an organization to create a pandemic portal. So you just had to click a button and it would take you to the pandemic portal, which had a number of different resources, question and answers, so that employees could see, okay, if I have a question, I can just go to this portal and the answer should be there for me. But we do still have that email inbox available as well. We encourage team meetings. Many teams had daily meetings or small huddles, as we say, which is where you just meet with each other for 10, 15 minutes in the morning or later in the day to talk about what's going on in your day. Again, virtual coffee breaks. And then we implemented the Leadership Excellence channel because we found that leaders were struggling with how do I respond to pandemic? What should I be doing? How do I support my employees? And so we have a Leadership Excellence channel that was implemented through this. And many, if not all of these initiatives continue on as well. So we did have a few new employees start during pandemic. And so this created a bit of a unique challenge for us. And again, we were able to deploy equipment to these new staff. Some of them were actually in different provinces at the time because they were moving here but couldn't due to pandemic. So we deployed equipment out to them. Our great IT team was able to do that. We encouraged or implemented virtual meet and greet with each of their team members to get to know each other. Leadership would have an introduction and kind of a virtual get to know each other, and then regular check-ins. We have e-signature documentation, but we had to utilize this for all documentation through pandemic. And then that also allowed us to create a different way of new employee orientation. We used to have it in person in one of our large Saskatoon location, but we instead changed to have it all online. And we actually had our first new employee orientation last month. And then this also created a need to really ensure that we had a lot of our new employee training online as well, so that it could be done remotely. Some of the tips and tricks we encouraged for our employees was to turn on video during all meetings. That created that kind of person-to-person connection. Keep a normal schedule for those working from home. Get ready for work as usual. Take breaks, but shut off at night and shut off at night. And leaders checking in more regularly through instant messaging and quick chats, regular communication and updates through our intranet and person-to-person, and then encouraging more of that team collaboration. So we sent many of our staff home, and then many of them actually returned back to the office for a portion of time. And again, that pandemic portal where they could ask if they had questions, go and see that. We had to reconfigure office and cubicle space to ensure that distancing was in place. We implemented mandatory masks when people came back, which was prior to government directed mandatory masking. So that helped our employees that were coming back to work feel safe. And then continuing with that support both to those working from home and those on the front line. So I think that's it. This is just a little picture of our green pig, our Affinity mascot. That's my presentation, and I welcome any questions.
Awesome. That was really, really thorough. Great job, Justine. That's awesome. I actually have a couple of questions. Some of them are HR related, as I am a supervisor myself. So when COVID-19 kind of started back in April, how quick was that turnaround to get all the IT equipment deployed and create like new strategies and decide that half of the staff is going to work from home? Was that like a very quick turnaround, or was there a kind of a frustrating, because for us, there was quite a lot of meetings and emergency meetings and a lot of negotiation about what's the right way. And it was like 2 weeks of compact meetings back after like for very long times. And finally, we had a rollout of our kind of measures, but it took a lot to get there. So was that the same for you, or how was that experience?
Yeah, absolutely. It was. So quickly, the organization put together a pandemic response team. So that was mostly, it was cross-functional across the organization, but many executive leaders and then senior managers were involved in that. We sent everyone home that could work from home rather quickly. Many staff already did have laptops, but then it was quickly communicated with IT the needs of what did people need? Did they have access? If they had a laptop, some of them already had access, but some of them needed a different type of access. So that was implemented, I would say, quite quickly. Like within a week or two, people had everything they needed, which is kudos to our IT team. It was a big undertaking. But then our pandemic response team, like as part of the HR team, you're managing, like, as you know, those changes were day to day, even more than once a day. So our pandemic response team, I think they actually met twice a day in the beginning. And then my boss was actually part of that team. And then he'd update us pretty much every day as to what's going on, what we're implementing, what changes, what we need, what the communications are to our staff and employees. And then, okay, we have this question come up. How are we going to help this employee? Like they have a sick kid, and how, are we, where are they going to work? Are they going to stay at home? Are we going to pay them for that time at home? Do they take sick time? Do they take vacation? Like all sorts of these questions came into play. So we had to really quickly navigate through all of that. But it took some time to really get some things into place. We had to navigate through all the different questions and employee needs and needs of the business too. So balancing that. But it did take some time. Our PRT is obviously still in place, but I think for the first, I don't even know, it's 2 to 3 to 4 months, they were meeting every day, trying to navigate through the changes every day. So, yeah.
Definitely, us too. It was quite the whirlwind of meetings and what do we do? And you had something in your PowerPoint about scheduling. And do you guys schedule your staff, like who works from home or who's in the office, or is that more on like a need of who can come in and who can't?
It depends on the function of the staff. Because we have those retail operations. If there were staff that weren't able to work from home, if there were staff that were retail staff but couldn't come into work, we would work with them as to, okay, how long? What should we do? Are they going to take sick time? Is it for a certain period of time? Like I believe we did have some employees who took a leave of absence because they had to care for their children because they had no care. So working with those staff as well as the staff, like most of our backstage staff, our back end staff, could work from home. And so that was those who were deployed the equipment. So we do schedule our staff ourselves.
Yes, awesome.
Yeah.
We do as well, and we kind of do it. We used to do it every 2 weeks, but it was coming up too quickly. So we've done monthly schedules now and staggering them to make sure not everybody's in at the same time. So yeah, we
looked at our branch hours and kind of ensured that we had the hours that were required, and then how many people do we need? What kind of distancing do we require? So how many people can we even have in that location at once, and then schedule accordingly.
Awesome. And there's just one question from an anonymous attendee. They are asking, how would employees meditate virtually? What was that session like?
It was, you know what, the one I took part in a couple of them. They were really simple, kind of deep breathing exercises, and kind of putting your feet on the ground and feeling every part of your body and relaxing every part of your body. And then also one session was geared towards like standing up and stretching and ensuring that part of it too, because there was, so it was a very quick meditation and kind of just some quick techniques that you could do even sitting at your desk.
Very cool. We need to employ that here, I think. So awesome. Awesome. Thank you.
It was very, very neat to have that done.
Definitely. A great idea. Definitely. Awesome. Perfect. Thank you very much, Justine. I do not see any other questions. So I think we are good to go. Yes. Perfect. Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much.
Yes. No worries. We're going to move on to Robin from 7 Shifts. Take it away.
Okay, cool. I hope everyone can hear me. I'm just on Broadway, so there's like some vehicles going by. So I'm sorry if there's any kind of like background noise. Give me one sec here to share my screen. Okay. So, hello everyone. Thank you first of all to the Open Door Society of Saskatoon for hosting. It's always super insightful to see how other companies are navigating the pandemic, especially such a wide range of organizations. My name is Robin. I am the Workplace Experience Manager at 7 Shifts here at our headquarters in Saskatoon. And 7 Shifts is a restaurant scheduling software, for those who don't know. We have multiple offices, including one in Toronto, one in New York, and we obviously now have multiple employees working remotely across Canada and in the US. We actually have one person in New Zealand right now as well. It's a lucky guy, skipping out on winter. I've been with 7 Shifts for about 2.5 years, and my current role combines the cultural, physical, and technological environments of the workplace. So as somewhat of a hybrid role, I get to oversee a wide range of day-to-day operations, including onboarding, offboarding, social events, facility management, real estate, newly implemented technologies like hot desking and wellness checks, which I will get into a bit later. And that being said, I will mainly be talking about internal operations versus the business side of things, but I am open to helping financiers to any of those questions if they do come up. So first things first, adjusting to the new normal. When the pandemic first hit and we went into a mandatory work from home order at all offices, I will be the first to admit that for the first couple of weeks, we had it in our heads that this was very temporary. We would be back to the office doing the same old thing in no time. But obviously after a few weeks, it became super clear that processes and procedures were going to have to change. Good news about that is that those who are not typically open to change kind of had to be. And I'm not sure about everyone here, but I definitely thrive under pressure. Though some things did come naturally, such as hosting virtual events and sending new hire equipment, other things did not, and they definitely required more input and collaboration. So there were 3 things that I noticed our people embody at this time, and I think that they were detrimental to our success internally in the new normal. So we first had to kind of accept that this was reality, and things were probably going to be different forever, even post-COVID. And I think that was tough for some people to swallow. We had to be open-minded. We had to realize that flexibility was becoming one of the greatest perks for employees and that it was here to stay. And we needed to bring it to Sask to remain competitive. Lastly, we had to embrace the change by making it our own, which this one's very fitting because one of our core values is embracing new challenges. So I feel like we kind of dove in headfirst with this one. Once we kind of got past that notion that things would go back to normal, it was just so much easier to move forward, navigating the new normal. So what did we change? Staying connected in the new normal. One of the first challenges when COVID-19 hit was this. While working from home, staying connected obviously was just not the same. We were super lucky in the sense that we already had teams in 3 separate offices, making our virtual meetings somewhat normal for most of us. So that means like our weekly team meetings, and which we call level 10s, and our manager employee one-on-ones continued on without much hiccup, which was nice. However, creating genuine bonding experiences was definitely a pain point. So we implemented small events early on, like spirit days. We had bi-weekly happy hours via Hangouts. We did trivia, Jackbox. We even once had a very talented employee host a virtual concert, which was super well received. So great to see internal talent. I don't know if anybody's heard of the House Party app, but we use that for kind of like ad hoc chats. And our CEO sent weekly video updates on the business front, which was great for everybody to hear from him. We also had been using an app called Donut for coffee chats, which is kind of integrated with Slack, our internal messaging system, and it pairs random people to meet for coffee. So we decided to increase the cadence of that and increase the amount of attendees for the pairings, which was super cool because then it was company-wide and people were meeting for virtual coffees company-wide and getting to see, you know, people in Toronto, people in New York, people in New Zealand, which was really cool. And once the weather permitted and the government allowed, obviously, we implemented a mystery lunch using the same Donut app, which paired 4 random people locally for an outdoor lunch from a client, which 7 shifts purchased, which was really cool. I think that was super well received, and it was some of our like first in-person kind of bonding experiences that everybody had since March. In July, we replaced our annual staff retreat. This was a big one. This was really sad. We usually get everyone together all in one place. So that was a tough pill for us to swallow that we weren't going to be able to do that. So instead, we hosted our first ever Shifty Awards, which was kind of like a virtual event showcasing our employees in both fun and serious categories. Everybody nominated each other and everybody voted for each other. And then they kind of won virtually, and we sent gift cards or donations, which was cool. It was kind of our first company-wide event other than our all hands, which we were doing bi-weekly at the time. And we just noticed kind of like an immediate boost, like positive vibes following the event. So we wanted to do more. However, it does take a lot of time to organize these events. Like even though they're virtually, it's still, you put in so much time into them. So in Q2 of 2020, we decided to kind of focus on a remote work policy. And this also included creating a curated list of team building resources for managers. And this is when we found a company called Thriver, which is actually Toronto-based, and they offer kind of various virtual events. They organize and they provide hosts and supplies for things like Family Feud. They do trivia, they do paint night, which is great because it takes a lot of the work off of our team and work off the manager, really, so they can actually fully participate with their teams, which was great. Still using that to this day. Staying social. So I know I just kind of touched on a bunch of social things, but I guess that's how we stay connected. The introduction of Thriver, obviously, like I just said, cleared up a lot of time for the people and culture team and the social committee. So we were able to focus more on the company-wide initiatives. So basically what we did is we just tried to keep our regular social schedule, but make it virtual. So do the same kinds of events, but figure out a way to do it virtual. So instead of walking in the Pride Parade, we created a video message with photos from our employees, along with just like a monetary donation to keep everyone active. We did wellness bingo, we did fitness challenges, we started a weekly yoga class called 7 Stretches, which was actually hosted by an employee, which was really good. We still did our annual Halloween costume contest. We just threw them all into a Google form for voting. We even introduced like a new tradition. So we started doing pumpkin carving, which we loved because families were getting involved. And in Saskatoon, we were super lucky that restrictions were a little bit lower here. So we did kind of like a walk by trick or treat. Like a contactless trick or treat. We made goodie bags for kids and we made them for adults. And so to be honest, it was like just as fun for us as it was for them. Our holiday party also went virtual. We actually just had it a couple weeks ago. it was super cool because we were able to have a company-wide holiday party for the first time since opening our Toronto and New York offices. We did, however, try and keep it a bit more intimate and interesting for everyone. So we hosted like smaller open rooms. At the time, Google didn't have like the breakout rooms, so we actually made our own, where there was smaller rooms. We had different kind of themes in each room. We did trivia Jackbox. We built gingerbread houses. We had an extravagant Caesar room where people were just like mixing up Caesars and making crazy like toppings. And then each room had like a competition with prizes in each. We did either a gift card to a client or a donation. And I think that people are really like the addition of competition kind of always spices things up for us. And then after that, we kind of all met together in one big hangout, and we did just kind of like some montages of past holiday parties, door prizes, yeah, all kinds of fun stuff. You know, I mean, you try and avoid screen fatigue as much as possible, but it's kind of the only way that you can connect everyone. And just to do it a couple of times a year, even, I found it's just a nice way to kind of break, you know, your normal like day to day and just raise morale a little bit. We also found actually that community involvement was a huge motivator for employee participation, especially this time of year with all the things going on. We have a Movember team that was actually starting in Toronto, and they raised over $3,000 just through like various events. They had like a men's health talk, they had like a workout, and yeah, like it's just anything to get people involved with the community is awesome. We're also planning a Blue Monday concert for January, which I'm really excited about. We're going to sell like virtual tickets. So the tickets will be donated, the profits entirely to jack.org, which is a really cool website if anyone's looking to do like an online fundraiser. Super easy to use. You can kind of pick where it goes, and people can just like click and donate. It's great. So that being said, we seem to have like a grasp on the fun stuff early on. Seemed to be kind of the easier side of things, but we knew we had to start thinking kind of long-term about remote work. We had multiple employees thriving while working from home, and we knew having remote flexibility in the future was going to be key to recruitment and retention. So we've always kind of had the option to work from home for a day or two a week, but we just wanted to revamp that for people that wanted to kind of take more advantage of it. So in July, the People and Culture team created a brand new remote work policy, which gave the employees the freedom to choose whether they want to continue working remotely full-time, hybrid remote, which is like half and half, or however they want, or fully in office with the option to still work from home kind of on an as needed basis. And each option has its own perks. I won't go into too much detail. We have like a wellness spending account for some of them to like make everybody's, you know, at home office more comfortable, that kind of thing. But I'm happy to chat about this more if anyone has questions later. Okay, yeah, so with our brand new remote work policy, and many just still working from home, or, you know, we're hiring people out of province, or in suburbs of Toronto, we clearly needed an update to our onboarding. So we hadn't been hiring for the first few months during COVID, so we definitely had some time to think about it. Previously, you know, we would have set up the new hires desk with all their stuff. It would have been ready, like with their name, and like they get there and we pull out like a red carpet and it's like a big thing. So we had to like figure out a way to still kind of wow the new people. So we, instead of, I guess, setting up their desk and office, we just like threw everything into a branded box, their laptop. We throw a bunch of employee swag in there. We have readings, everything that they could kind of need to make their work from home experience an 11. And each box contains a personalized card to help welcome them to the team. From there, like our amazing IT specialist, he has a laptop set up for each end user prior to shipping. So he doesn't really have to do anything. It kind of ships right from Apple, which is awesome. And then he works with them first thing on day one to log in. Rest of the day is spent with our lovely people and culture coordinator, Britt. She goes through, you know, the usual logins, how-tos, benefits, company history, that kind of thing. And then she adds a little bit of fun with a 7 Shifts Jeopardy. This is just online if anyone wants this resource. It's super fun and you can create any question in it that you want. So we really customize this just to kind of match our company. And we just find it kind of fosters a little bit of team building right off the bat. Another thing we do that we kind of had to make virtual is normally a manager would take out their new hire for lunch. So instead of taking them out, we just send gift cards from like Skip or Uber Eats to each person. They order food to their house and they have like a virtual lunch together. So at the end of the day, we are just trying to, change what we had. We think we had a really solid foundation into a more virtual world. And it seems to be working so far. It's nice to have your new people kind of interact with multiple people on multiple teams. I think it helps them feel more comfortable connecting to other people that way as they grow with the company in a remote world. All right, so we were super fortunate to be in an industry where working from home was possible. I think it gave our team a lot more time to plan and prepare than some businesses that had to kind of, open right away to the public. But as adaptable as our teams were to working from home, it definitely wasn't easy for everyone. So our main driver for reopening was just to be able to provide a productive environment for those who needed it in the safest way possible. So safety first. Early on, we assembled a return to work task force. Sounds super cool, I bet. And we created a phased reopening plan for each office, similar to most government plans, increasing capacity as things get better, that kind of thing, or vice versa, because we're in the second wave now. So we're actually going backwards, but it is what it is. There's a vaccine, there's hope. And then, so returning was completely optional for all of our employees. And we decided to communicate all the details to our reopening plan in a playbook. So we created a playbook for each office. It outlined all the new policies, procedures, guidelines. Any employees had to sign it and read it before they returned. And to ensure staff felt safe returning, we implemented things, obviously mandatory branded masks in common areas. We do wellness checks prior to entering the office. Fun fact, we actually use our own software for the wellness checks. So bonus for us. It's called 7 Punches if anybody's looking to use it, which also provides contact tracing, which is super important if the need for it were to arise. On top of that, we implemented Robin Powered, which is a desk booking software. So it meant no one had a permanent spot for the time being. So we physically had to pack up all personal belongings, rearrange our entire floor plan for proper distancing, and get it into the software for hot desking, is what it's called. When employees returned, they just had to book a desk for that week or that day. To ensure that they were cleaned, we had little cleaning cards, as you can see in the picture there. Simply, all you have to do is flip it. The other side says dirty. Our cleaners will clean it. If it's clean, that means you're coming back the next day, and you don't need it to be cleaned. And then we had just a basic desk setup. So all employees really have to bring to the office is their laptop and their headset or whatever else they would like. And then on top of that, we did what most businesses are doing. The traffic flow decals, the red, yellow, green bracelets, increased cleaning, all that fun stuff. Again, just happy to answer any questions around all these measures following the webinar. I feel like they're endless and I don't want to repeat anything that's already been said in this aspect. All right, so moving forward, though, we feel like we finally have a grasp on this new normal. Like I said, we're kind of going back into the second wave and we're okay, do we just go back or how do we kind of future-proof ourselves? I just think we're just going to continue to learn and grow every day until, COVID's kind of over. And a big focus for us in 2021 is going to be manager accountability for team building. A people and culture team can only do so much to match specific individual interests. So managers, they know their team's better than anyone. So we want to just enable them to build team morale as best as they can and as best we can. And we truly believe that workplace flexibility is here to stay. So we're continuously working to improve our remote work plan to stay relevant in the future. and workplace flexibility will look different for every company, and making it work for you and your teams will always be an ongoing effort. But, I, for one, I'm super optimistic about 2021 and what it will bring. More change, I'm sure, but I think it's for the better. 2020 was tough, but it definitely highlighted individual employee needs and the importance of work-life balance in many ways. And I think that employers are making changes around that for the better. So thanks 2020 for all you've taught us, and cheers to 2021.
Awesome. What a great presentation, Robin.
Oh, thank you.
You guys have implemented some really, really creative and really genius ideas, actually. I've been talking to my team here and we're like writing it down and, oh, we need to use that, writing it down. So that's really, really cool. So for your team and for 7 Shifts in general, would you say there was more of an issue with the attitude around change and adapting to the new normal, or was the difficulty lie in more the technical aspect of the remote working and tracking people and having people accountable, that kind of idea?
Yeah, I think in our industry, like startups are always changing super fast. So I don't think like adaptability was ever an issue for us. I think we're also, like I said, we're very open-minded, and I feel like everybody here just kind of embraces the change. But we're also very mindful we try and be mindful of everybody and what's best for everybody, which, like hence the remote work policy and the options, and just keyword is flexibility moving forward. Yeah, I think that everybody is like, we're all in this together. So our team is always adaptable and always willing to give us feedback also, which is great.
Awesome. There are a couple of questions here for you. So I'll go ahead and read them out. The first one is asking, where on the internet is the Jeopardy tool?
One sec. I think it's called Jeopardy Labs. Yeah, it's called
Maybe
Jeopardy.
We'll have our IT type the answer in there, in the box there. Jeopardy Lab, you said?
Yeah, it's Jeopardy Labs. If you just Google Jeopardy Labs, it'll come up.
Sorry, perfect. And then the next question is asking, red, yellow, green bracelets, what are they for and how are they used?
Oh yeah, great question. So basically they're just a way to avoid any awkward conversations. So if you're, this fall, I feel like things were a lot easier. There weren't as many restrictions. So if you could have a green bracelet, and that meant that if you were in a meeting room with someone else, you were comfortable not having a mask as long as you had space. If you had a yellow bracelet, it meant like you were comfortable, like having a mask on, but not physically distancing. And then red is basically like, don't talk to me, don't come around me, mask or no mask, like, no. So yeah, just a way to like avoid any like animosity. And like, if you can see that bracelet, like, how that person feels, and you can just act accordingly.
That's really cool. It's like a nonverbal way of kind of showing your stance on the issue at hand, I guess. That's really cool. Very, very cool. Awesome. And the last question we have is, could you list some of the programs and websites you utilized for socializing and boosting the morale at your office?
Yes. Yeah. I can post it in the chat, actually. I'll post Jeopardy Labs and all that stuff in the chat after we're done here.
Perfect. Yes. I think a lot of us could definitely benefit from that. So awesome. Thank you very, very much, Robin. That was very, very great. And we really appreciate you joining us today. Thank you very much.
Yeah, appreciate you. Thank you.
Perfect. Awesome. We will move on now to Vendasta and Carly, please, if you do not mind.
Sounds good. Hi, everyone. Just going to present my screen. If I could get a thumbs up if you can see it, that would be awesome. Can you see my screen? Perfect. Okay, so actually my presentation is very similar to Robin's, as we are kind of in a similar industry. But yeah, I'm still gonna roll with it. So, like, my name is Carly Neal, and I am the manager of company operations here at Vendasta. So I'll just gonna go through our COVID-19 journey. So I'm gonna start with an introduction of what Vendasta does, and then I'll go through a timeline of our response, and then I'm also gonna give you some tips of what you can learn from our experience, and then I'll open the floor to any questions. So, first of all, what does Vendasta do? I know a big question in the community is there's a lot of confusion of what we exactly it is that we do. So, well, and like long story short, we build software that helps local businesses with their digital solutions, but we don't sell direct. So I'm going to go a little bit deeper. Instead, we sell to what we call trusted experts, and this is anyone who helps SMBs or like local businesses like yourself. So this can include like those trusted experts can be marketing agencies, software vendors, traditional media companies like radio stations, TV networks, those sorts of companies. But for a local business seeking something like what we're selling, we like to say we provide one platform for all of your digital needs. So you could think of it as all business operations in one place. So for example, anything from like sales software, ignore my typo there, services such as a website builder or any products like we sell QuickBooks, G Suite, project management, and billing for your customers, all with one login and one monthly invoice from our platform. Okay, so again, we don't sell directly to you, we sell to trusted experts. So in Saskatoon, the trusted expert might be Direct West. I'm sure some of you have seen billboards for their services. So looking at COVID, it was very unsettling times for everybody, right? Our first priority was ensuring the safety of our staff when it was first coming into Canada here. Our second focus was working with our partners or those trusted experts whose clients, SMBs, were impacted by the virus. So we really needed to make sure that the SMBs could be successful, and that was our number one focus as a business. We have also been very lucky, like 7Shifts, as we are a very agile tech company. So we were able to survive through all of these times. Like we have remote employees all over Canada and the US, just like 7Shifts. We actually have some in the UK. We have we have daily Google Meet team meetings, like depending on the needs, there could be multiple meetings per day. And we've always had weekly company all hands meetings, and these have always been virtual. So this is something that we've kept on doing the whole time. So now I want to step back and look at 2020. I'm going to go through a month by month recap of what we did, because we literally changed our strategies and our outlook every month, okay? Or sometimes every week. So first of all, if we start in January, this is when world was living life to the fullest, like in one of those number one sayings right now, okay? Let's go into February. This is when the world was starting to be on edge. You know, airports were kind of iffy, news was starting to come up all the time. And then if we go to March, this is when the world changed, okay? So now I'm gonna look into where Vendasta changed. So at this point, we're all kind of like, okay, now what do we do? Like, how should we proceed? So in early March, this is when, like, you know, everyone in Saskatoon and the world knew that this was going to be a major issue for every business. So our first steps, again, our number one priority was safety of our staff and the success of our clients. You could say like our life preservers were out on the ocean, okay? Our executive team and our salespeople started canceling all of their travels. We used to do a lot of travel to the US, South Africa, and Europe. We also completely revamped our food services. So some of you are probably like, what is a food service? Well, we actually have a food operations team who supplies us breakfast, lunch, snacks all day, every day. We switched from having buffet style of everything to individual packaging of everything. Then we go into mid-March. We actually ended up canceling our annual Conquer Local conference. This year was supposed to take place in Montreal, Quebec, so it's quite sad times for all employees. And then at the end of March, this is when we made the decision to send 90% of our staff to work from home. Okay. Again, this was not hard for us as we are a tech company and we've been utilizing remote work resources for years. And at this time, we also locked our doors to the public. We are a private business, but we did have our doors open before, you know, for people stopping in to drop off resumes, maybe meet with some of our executive team, but we locked everything and posted signs on the doors for them to call a number if they wanted to come in. Then we go into spring, like April and May. This is when we were really trying just to adapt and hang on. We didn't know what was coming or what was going to be happening next. We actually stopped hiring at this point so that we could make sure our financials were still in order. We also at this time gave credit to our customers. So we're in a very unique circumstance that we were able to do this. We know that not all companies could. We also adjusted our strategies. So for example, we created a Conquer Local Academy where we shifted a team to create online courses that local businesses could take to try to help be successful online. We also developed what we called a local business online toolkit. So it's just a freemium bundle of online services to help a business stay visible online. And we also were really starting to focus on promoting e-commerce. So if you think about, most companies maybe had a website pre-COVID, but were they able to do transactions online? Could they track their inventory online, right? These are things that maybe not a lot of companies had done at that time. So we're really trying to help businesses like yours make money. Now, I actually stole this slide from one of our CEO's presentations a couple months ago. If you look at the last 10 years, e-commerce had actually only grown 16%. In the first 8 weeks of COVID, it skyrocketed to 27%. So this was an opportunity that we were able to grasp onto and help shift that success to our customers and their customers, okay? So yeah, that's just something to keep in mind. Like, you know, we've all shifted to purchasing things online and all that kind of stuff. Then we move into June. This is when the Reopen Saskatchewan discussions began. At this point, the Saskatoon cases were still quite low. And with the provinces starting to reopening, Vendasta started to think about, okay, maybe we could start reopening and bringing employees back to the office. So at this point, we're still adapting our strategies and we're actually starting to see results in our financials. So like I said, this is a unique opportunity for us. At this point, I also sent a survey out to all employees to gauge their interest on wanting to come back. And only 30 employees signed up, which, I mean, that's still okay. We had a lot of empty space for people to come back to the office. So we let everybody come back that wanted to. I also created an internal course on the proper kitchen etiquette and personal hygiene for those 30 employees to come back, just to make sure that everybody was on the same level with our new safety measures. So everybody who comes back has to follow these. At this point, masks were optional in the office. We did have some employees who were wearing them already. And like every other company, you know, the sanitizer sprays located everywhere. We also created a bring your child to work policy at this point. So this is when daycares were still closed, schools were closed. Some employees didn't have ideal working conditions. You know, maybe their significant other is also working at home, or they live with roommates, things like that. So anybody who wanted to bring their child to work, we said, you know what, as long as they follow the same rules that all the adults were following, it was okay, because we had so much empty space and they're actually pretty cute. So now I'm going to fast forward to July and August, and you're probably like, well, what is this? July and August is what I like to call obstacle course time. So we're going up, we're down, through hoops. It was all just kind of like winging it, you could say. So we started to implement a return to office plan. We first created a return to work policy that we made widely known to everybody, posted it all over the office, all over our internet, the do's and don'ts. At this point, we made it completely optional to come back to the office. The cases were still quite low in Saskatoon at the beginning of July. And at about this time, a quarter of our staff wanted to come back. So I think we had maybe 420 employees. So about 100 were wanting to come back. And we wanted to allow everyone to come back, but also being very conscious about the spacing. I will get there in a couple seconds. So we figured with a 2-meter arm length apart that we could fit about 120 employees, and that's how many wanted to come back. So it worked great. And instead of bringing all of these 120 people back at once, we did a phased-in approach just to keep that safety in mind. So, for example, we brought in half our sales team on July 6th, half our success team on July 13th, et cetera, et cetera. So like I said, with this, we had to majorly adjust our floor plans. So I have here on the left, that is our pre-COVID floor plan. That is 200 desks packed in together. That's what Vendasta is kind of all about, is a team collaboration and working with your colleagues. On the right is our first phase of bringing your sales team back, having everybody spaced 6 feet apart. So quite a difference for everyone. Also in July, we're still ramping up again. On July 16th, we announced our Next 100 hiring initiative. So if you remember before, we were on a hiring freeze, and now we're looking for 100 new people to join our company. We created a news release, and we also hosted a COVID-safe media event. and we created custom Vendasta masks for all of the attendees. So I want to show you a couple images here. You can see some of the attendees. We had Charlie Clark come, Lisa Lambert. We really wanted to promote that even though Saskatchewan was in tough times, we were really trying to showcase that we had opportunities for 100 individuals to find work. The masks were such a hit that we decided to order them for all employees. So everyone got to come and pick up their cool little Vendasta mask. We also ordered color-coded wristbands like 7 Shifts did. This was so people could, again, express how they felt in a room with others. At this time, masks were still not mandatory. So same thing, like red, I'm not comfortable, yellow, somewhat, green, it's like I'm okay to sit in a meeting room with you with or without a mask. We also ordered some extra sanitary supplies. Like we got this really cool fogger that we could walk around and spray the door handles with. And again, just really promoting safety and that we're taking this thing seriously. Now we're moving into August. The cases are starting to rise again in Saskatoon. So I actually started to hear that there was some fear of people being back in the office. Keep in mind, we had about 100 people back at this time. So I sent an anonymous survey out. I did this anonymously because I find people are more honest when their name isn't there, because I really wanted to gauge the honest thoughts. I started hearing that people felt obligated to be back in work, and that is not what we wanted. So mid-August, after I had all my survey results, I really started promoting that being in the office was optional, and we actually had some other people going back home, which was totally fine. And then at the end of August, cases are really starting to ramp up. I decided that masks are going to be mandatory at the office unless you're at your desk. So this is before the provincial rules for that. We also, at the end of August, for our Next 100 hiring initiative, we created this Vendasta Sales Academy. So this is a month-long course for new employees to really get engaged with all of the Vendasta team. And this is something that you could do remote or in the office. Now we're moving into September, October. I like to use Dory's motto of just keep swimming, because this is what we were doing. So I was really trying to focus on adjusting the employee attitudes towards wearing masks. I don't know about you guys, but getting adults to change their habits is not very easy. So I started posting friendly reminders around the office, such as this. You make something kind of funny, a little jingle, people actually start to listen. So you'll see we have arrows pointing down. We had little boxes of disposable masks everywhere so that people had no reason for forgetting their masks. I also implemented a mandatory attendance sheet. So this is kind of what it was. We have everything online. So everybody has to put their name, their phone number, and check the box of the days that they're in office. And again, getting adults to change their habits. I like to use this GIF. It's not the best quality, but it's like herding cats, okay? We are getting better at it, but it's still a work in progress to this day. Also, we created a COVID response plan, and we actually made it public to all of the employees. It includes 3 scenarios. So it's like, I have symptoms and I've been at work, what do I do? I've been in direct contact with a positive case. I tested positive. This helped us follow the same steps for every employee, no matter what the situation was. Now we're getting into November. The new provincial restrictions are starting to come back into play. So in early November, now our total employee count is about 475, and we had about 120 employees at the office in the beginning of the month. We started to implement a no visitor, no gatherings policy. Like I said, we are a private business, but this just really ensured that we didn't have any outsiders coming in that we couldn't track. November 6th was when the province announced the mandatory masks, and in the rules, it said that private offices were not required. However, I kept our policy in place because when you have 100 people in an office, it's just best for all to keep everyone safe. Then in mid-November, with the rising cases, we ended up sending 50% of those in-office staff home again. Like I said, we're in an obstacle course. We are just going with the flow here. Now and still today, we have about 50 to 60 people between both locations. And I want to show you what a ghost office looks like. Okay, so we had a zombie apocalypse basically take over Vendasta. So you can see here, empty workstations, all this computer equipment. Here we have a couple salespeople. We got some walls up. Everybody's spaced apart. Now this one's really sad. Just look at all the empty desks. So I'm really looking forward to a vaccine where we can have everybody back in the office and we can really have that collaboration. Now we're in December. I like to say that we're finally settled in COVID and we know what works. So with that in mind, we can finally start focusing on fun again. while keeping safety as our number one priority. So Vendasta has a really strong culture, and that's really what we wanted to promote. So for example, we still have Friday social hours, but they're virtual. So we have virtual social hour that anybody can join a Google Meet on Fridays starting at 3 o'clock. I also created a vendastaswag.com website. I put a little video in here for you to see. I ordered all this Vendasta branded swag, and we had a little photo shoot, which was super fun. I uploaded everything to this website. It includes all this fun stuff. We even got mitts last week. My favorite thing are these infant onesies. They come from newborn to 2 years old. Like, it's just so cute. So anyone who has a baby now gets a free onesie for their baby. We also started hosting more remote events. Like at Halloween, we had costume contests. So you just submitted photos and we all voted. We had pumpkin pickup for carving instead of pumpkin carving as a group. And just this week, we're having lip syncing contests to Mariah Carey's Awful Christmas song, but something fun for everyone to do. And we're also trying to offer really good food choices for the in-office staff. So last week on Friday, we had Fireball Jello shots and homemade butter tarts from our food ops staff. So just something fun to look forward to. And tomorrow, we're having our virtual holiday party, kind of like what 7 Shifts did. We're actually making it fun for the whole family. So the Saskatoon Club is catering to every employee, their significant other, and their kids, and everybody gets a bottle of wine. So it's going to be a fun for the whole family event tomorrow evening. I'm really looking forward to it. So now, finally, I just want to showcase like what might you learn from our experience. Utilizing technology and online tools is what helped us and our customers survive. So it's something to keep in mind. Having a passion for digital will help you through this. If you don't have a passion yet, you can always learn, okay? It's also important to make sure your employees feel safe. Like I said, I've done a lot of surveys and I've learned what works and what doesn't work. Also, being able to send your employees home at a moment's notice by having remote working tools is very important. And it's also important to have an up-to-date website and an online presence, okay? So if you're a service, you want to allow your customers to book online. If you sell products, you want to allow your customers to transact online, buy from your website. And you also want to keep your customers updated, especially right now. Social media is very important. I know I follow a lot of social media accounts. That's how I get a lot of my updates for business hours and things like that. Also make sure your Google listings are updated so everything is on there if somebody were to look up your business on Google. So, with all of that, I'd like to open the floor to any questions.
Well, first off, that was an amazing presentation, very thorough, and we were actually a lot of our staff members. We can overhear them laughing every now and then as you're going through the presentation. So definitely very entertaining for sure. And it looks like you guys are doing some really great things at Vendasta. So that's awesome to see. There is one question in the FAQ box from Arlene.
Sure.
Arlene is asking, I'm curious if Vendasta has developed any software for any enterprise since the onset of COVID.
Well, like I said, we have created all of those online toolkits, right? So we used to focus a lot on enterprise sales, but we found that just wasn't what was working for us. So we started selling to like those local trusted experts, but the enterprises can still use them. And if you check out our website, we do have all of these toolkits online and a lot of steps and suggestions. And like I said, we have all those courses. And then there's also an opportunity to book a demo with a salesperson. You don't have to buy anything, but they can show you the best tools that will work for your business.
Nice, nice. Perfect. Awesome. Thank you very much, Carly. And thank you for joining us today. That was awesome.
Thank you very much.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Sorry, there's just one more comment for you, Carly. It does say, I am so impressed by your presentation and all the great things which Vendasta is doing. Thank you for sharing your experiences and knowledge.
Awesome. Happy to.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Perfect. Okay. We are hitting the 30 minutes until we are finished mark. However, we are going to keep tracking along. We have 2 more employers to present. So if you are comfortable and you are willing to stay with us longer, please do so. And I will quickly now move on to Linda Yu.
Hello, everyone. My name is Linda Yu. I'm a chartered professional accountant, as well as I'm a real estate agent. So just a little bit about my accounting firm. It is registered in Saskatchewan and Alberta. We mainly providing bookkeeping, corporate and personal tax, business consulting, as well as a business plan and SMP related services for small and medium-sized business. We are focused on providing accurate and timely professional service to customers. So COVID, I think everybody agrees that COVID changed our lives a lot, as well as the business. For my accounting firm, when the COVID just happened, it hit right on the tax season. I have the employee quit because of the worry about getting infected, and short-end stuff during the tax season make me panic at first, and even makes me worry about more people leaving. So I start to get some education myself about the COVID, like how to prevent the transmission, how to calm down my staff. I did the follow things first. I ordered it. I think I ordered 600 masks in late February, when the mask and gloves are still available to order from Amazon. And I set up a drop off and pick up boxes in the lobby, and encourage clients to send documents to us by email, by fax, and mail, instead of coming to my office. And I moved all the staff from cubic, like open working area, to individual offices. We got a big office here. We have like about 3,000 square foot, but we only have 6 or 7 employees here. So we got lots of room for them to use, and make them to use phone, Zoom, and email to communicate with each other. So the whole time, even until now, we keep our office open. We're not even closed for a day, and everyone comes to work in the office, but we limited the client visit. And I did some webinars or information session online during the pandemic. We covered topic about the government grants, subsidy about the COVID, personal tax updates, Saskatchewan immigration nomination program updates about entrepreneur category, because we got lots of clients are entrepreneur immigrants. And we realized that actually get more attendance than before, because the people can come from different province, and some of them even come from like out of Canada. And comparing to hosting an information session, I used to host a lot of information session in our meeting room, and the capacity is about like 30%. But by using Zoom, I remember like our first, when the pandemic just happened, I had a one for the government grants update. Like we have about 150 attendance. So that enlarged our capacity a lot by using Zoom. And we during the pandemic, we helped a lot of business owners apply for the government subsidy to help them reduce the financial pressure. We send out the information to the qualified business owners instead of basically we proactive to reach out to them instead of waiting them to contact us and ask questions. And as I have a big volume of Chinese clients, I set up a WeChat public account, and we hired a professional marketing team to help us to post tax updates, government grant updates, policy changes weekly. And overall, in terms of my accounting firm, by doing all of this, my office opens every day. My staff stayed. Other than that, one like quit just right when the government when we have cases here, and we have no sales decreasing, and we even planning to expanding my business into have an office in Calgary, maybe have another office in BC. This is what I learned from the pandemic, that the e-commerce and cloud-based accounting will be the new future for accounting firm. and we are working on the website. So just make the capacity or the ability for the client to upload documents, pay bills online through the website instead of coming to the office. And as a real estate agent, what you do is is client's mind about like showing. I required client to wear mask and gloves during the showing, even before the wearing mask is mandatory at that time. I remember clearly when I bring my client to do the showing and the seller's still at home. When they see us wear mask and gloves, look like we're not it's like we're from another planet. It's so weird that time, but that helps my client, and I think later on people realize that's important. That's the accurate thing to do. And as a daily routine, I post the latest real estate information on WeChat as well as Facebook. And we start with the information for Saskatchewan, and then as our client base grow, I post information for Calgary and Vancouver, and actually I gain a lot of clients by doing that. I'm still doing it daily. And due to the pandemic, less new immigrants came to Canada, but with the expansion of the internet exposure, we got more clients. I think the pandemic will continue for some time, but with the proper management taken, and I believe we actually can do better in 2021. I think that's all for my speaking.
Awesome. That was a great presentation, Linda. We have one question for you. Do you think that it was because of the pandemic that kind of helped your business boom and grow to the level it is right now?
I shouldn't say help it booming, but by adjusting the business, to the current situation, it actually avoiding the sales decrease. So we just have to adjust by the flow.
Yeah, definitely. But it looks like you got some really good experiences and some learning from the pandemic and different ways to adapt, and it's really been successful for you, obviously, right? So that's awesome to hear that. Thank you very much for presenting and agreeing to present today, Linda. We really, really appreciate it, and thank you for your patience as we have gone a bit over time. So if there are any other questions for Linda, please sound them out in the question and answer box. I'll just give a couple of minutes, and then we will move on to Daniel. And our last presenter for today is going to be Daniel from Ko Chicken Ramen. So Daniel, if you want to get started, and I will turn off my mic here.
I guess we're running a little bit behind, but I think there's been a lot of good points in the presentation so far, and it kind of takes out a lot of the points that I had wanted to make originally. So I think I'll just get down to the kind of the meat of what I want to present. Just a quick background about myself. I graduated from the Edwards School of Business, and I've been in the food industry for about 20 years, starting from working at my parents' restaurant to being on an opening team for a franchise fast food concept. I opened my first restaurant with my brother and two cousins in my second year of university, and since then it's just been every couple of years we'll open a new restaurant. Yeah, so the restaurant that I'm talking about right now is Ko Chicken Ramen and Waves Poke and Press. So that was the restaurant that we opened in Stonebridge, Saskatoon, May 2019. So we've been open for about a year, and then COVID happened. So basically we had to shut down. We decided to shut down a little earlier than we were. Well, actually, I guess we closed our operations earlier than we were supposed to. So I think for the most part, it was because of our staff, our team. We wanted to make sure that everybody felt safe, comfortable working, and just because of the uncertainty, it was difficult, I think. So we decided to close for six weeks, and then we we kind of had management meetings throughout that time, and leading up to our reopening, we had more management meetings almost every night, trying to plan out what's the best course of action, how to keep our team safe, how to bring people back to work, because we felt that it would last longer than months, right? So, and it has. So, in order to bring more people back, what we did was we opened for takeout and delivery only, and we've been kind of rebranding ourselves as Collaborative Kitchen, and it's been something that I've wanted to do for the last couple of years, having different brands all under one roof and being able to offer these brands to customers all on one ticket, all on one bill. It's something I feel that Saskatoon has been, it's kind of a popular trend throughout the world, I think, right now. And I think Saskatoon is the first one here. So we offer specialty products. We kind of focus on niche products, and we do our research as much as possible to make sure that those are as authentic and as delicious as possible. So we started with Ko Chicken Ramen, and we actually went to Japan to research how to make it, how it tastes. We got some classes in Japan as well. So that was one kind of the initial starting point for this restaurant. And the chicken, so I had a fascination with Korean chicken, and I went to Korea and I tried so many different places, and it's just been something I've wanted to start for a very long time. Same with Waves. So Waves is a poke bar. It's a Hawaiian poke dish, and that's something that we went to Hawaii and we had to do our market research there, and it was great. So now we're branching out into different brands. So we have a Mac Daddy brand, which is a gourmet mac and cheese and fries. We've got a bao brand, which is kind of like a steamed Chinese style bao, with lots of fillings and sauces, toppings inside. And we also have Big Bird, which is a fried chicken brand, which we're focusing on Nashville fried chicken. So it's a little bit spicy. It's got a lot of flavor, very juicy chicken and crispy as well. And our next brand we're launching is Coco Curry. So that brand is actually launching tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. Some of the things that we've been doing after COVID is we've increased our safety protocols. A lot of the things have been mentioned already. So like plexiglass dividers, sanitation, peroxide disinfectant, social distancing, stickers on the floors. We actually reconfigured our layout as well. So our kitchen, we moved parts of our kitchen into the dining room, and we've done that so that we can have more space, and also to kind of distance our employees. We have 5 stations right now, and we're planning to put another station in probably in the next few months. We also have a waiting area indoors with seating, but no tables for our guests and couriers to wait for their orders. I think the general point that I want to convey is trying something new is very important right now, especially because there's so much difficulty in our industry. I think a lot of small businesses are suffering. And for us, we're trying our best, and doing something new is very important. I think our team has been fantastic throughout this whole process. They've been very understanding, and we're trying to listen to them, get their feedback as much as possible, to make sure that they're safe and to make sure that our guests are safe, and that they're enjoying work as well. We just want to make sure that it's not becoming unenjoyable to work at our restaurant. And I think we're doing a pretty good job. I think people are having fun at the same time. For promotions, we've been utilizing social media for most of our promotion. Actually, we've targeted certain workforces. So we've had a healthcare professionals promotion where we targeted healthcare workers, like frontline workers. And this is something that's kind of near and dear to my heart. My fiance is a nursing student at the U of S, and she always often tells me about the industry she's working in and the difficulties and how COVID has affected healthcare and the hospitals. So that's something I really wanted to target, and we've done some promotions targeting them. We've done drop-offs of food. We're planning to do another promotion in February. And there's another, for January, we're going to be doing a targeted promotion for teachers. So my fiance as well, she had a opportunity to do a rotation at one of the public schools in Saskatoon. And she had mentioned that, the teachers are actually having a very difficult time. They have to deal with all their students and the uncertainty and the fear, as well as all the new and changing protocols that are happening all the time. So teachers actually have it really difficult. And, we're going to be showing them some love in January. So you can stay tuned for that as well. We really feel that teachers and healthcare professionals and all frontline workers in general, I think, are really keeping the economy alive and also really supporting everybody in our community. Yeah. So, and another thing I want to be thankful for is our landlord. Our landlord's been awesome throughout this whole process. They've given us some rent decrease and been really understanding for that. We also were allowed to put in some temporary parking for our couriers and our guests to park their half-an-hour parking spots right in front of our stores. So that allows for quick parking and then just coming in and grabbing your food and leaving. So instead of parking maybe like half a block away, they can park right outside, which is excellent for us. And it just improves the whole process for the guest.
That's really awesome. Some really, really innovative and creative methods you have going on. Has your business increased or decreased since COVID, or has there been any change that you've been feeling?
It almost feels like a different business because we're only for takeout and delivery. I kind of miss the dine-in part because our food is meant for dine-in. But increase or decrease, I think we're almost on par right now. But we've actually had to close a different location in the University of Saskatchewan. So that location is completely closed. So we're kind of bringing in staff from the U of S to Ko right now to work. And we're trying to make it work for all the staff that we have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the location at the university, that's related to the fact that the university is closed, hey?
Right, exactly. The entire food court's closed, so we're closed as well.
Okay, awesome. Mm-hmm. That's some really creative and innovative strategies you have going. And the social media presence you were talking about, the other companies before have also mentioned how important advertising and exposure is as well. And yours definitely has not gone unnoticed. I see it on my Instagram feed all the time as well. So really, really good work. I think a part of adaptability is also innovation and these creative new ideas that you have with your menus and your different branches. It's really, really working, honestly. It's really working and it's helping out. So definitely. Awesome.
Trying our best, yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm. And definitely, it's not possible without the community that's supporting us and surrounding us. So I think we've been received really well. And we're trying our best to make every customer happy. And we appreciate definitely every single guest that we have right now. Mm-hmm. So
definitely. Awesome. Yeah. Perfect. Thank you very much, Daniel. That was great. Thank you very much. Awesome. So that's going to, are there any questions for Daniel and for Ko Chicken Ramen? If not, we are quite actually on time. So that's awesome. Are there any questions for all the employers in general that you have, that you've thought of as we've gone through today? If you do, you can sound out in the question and answer box there. I can quickly maybe just share about what we're doing at Open Door Society and our department specifically. We are a nonprofit, so we kind of have targets to meet and reports to fill out. And unfortunately, COVID-19 doesn't get to stop that. So we have had to work extra hard to continue to give services to our clients in this new climate. Unfortunately, we are not as tech savvy as Vendasta 7 Shifts or some of the other companies mentioned today because as you know, we're nonprofit, so our funding is a bit limited. However, we have managed to get online. Everybody has work laptops. Half of our staff are working from home. The other half are working in the office, and we cater that to the health guidelines, and we're going from there essentially. I actually think I see, yes, there's a comment. It says, everyone was an incredible speaker, so valuable the information you shared. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, definitely. It was really, really interesting to see how we're all differently adapting and always being innovative with our ideas and strategies on how to keep our businesses afloat, obviously, right? So there is definitely this climate that this is going to be a long-term thing. It's not a 2-month, 3-month, 6-month kind of ordeal. It might be prolonged. So it's really, really important to always be reflecting, innovating, and creating new strategies. So on that note, I think I want to stop there and let you guys have the great rest of your day, and Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. And thanks actually for joining us on December 22nd. We're very close to the holidays. So thank you for joining us. Thanks for your time. Dolores says the bao buns from Ko Kitchen were delicious. So I second that. I eat a Ko Chicken like all the time. So yeah, amazing food. Thank you so much for joining us today, and have a great rest of your evening. Take care.